Great. Very good. So first, I want to say thank you to everyone who donated to the Joy of Giving um, retreat, which 100% of that money is going to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank because of food insecurity currently being experienced by millions in our country. Um, and I want to also say, um, maybe I'll wait until the afternoon. I was going to talk about kind of how the retreat is structured. But I will say that actually you can still register for that retreat if you want to. We have this session for this hour from 10:30 to 11:30, and then we will have another session today from 2 to 4, and then another session tomorrow from 10:30 to 12:30. So if you'd like to join us, or even if you'd just like to throw a few bucks in the pot for the food bank, that would be so awesome. So all the links you need are below. You can just log into the website and it's very easy to find. And then I'll send you all the rest of the information that you need, including the link to the playlist. Hey, Tess. Hey, Lucy. I'm really glad you're here too. Um, pardon me. Uh, so it's really easy to find, and we'd love to have you. Hey, Kathleen. So if you want to do that, please feel free to do so. We have a like four-tiered automatic enrollment numbers, but we also have a pay what you can option. So if you can't afford even the discount price, that's totally fine. Again, this money's for the food bank. Even $1 goes really far at the food bank because they buy in bulk and they get discounts and things like that. Which if we spend $1 on food, for every dollar we spend, I think they said on their site, it's like $9 for them. So even if you can just donate $1, that's incredible. And we're very grateful, and I'm sure that they are too. Okay. So this is the first session, actually, of our weekend retreat, The Joy of Giving. And I just remembered, sorry, I have to give my computer electricity. So she's suffering right now from battery hunger. Okay. So so this is the first of 4 sessions. Um, sorry, 3 sessions of this retreat where we are going to focus on generosity, okay, and the teachings on generosity and how to develop generosity in ourselves and overcome whatever obstacles we may currently have towards being a more generous person. It's actually a much deeper subject than we might realize at first glance. I was really fascinated by some of the things I was finding online. So the way that we're going to do it is today or this morning, we're going to focus on, we're going to go like outer and then more and more subtle. Okay. So this is the first teaching. It's kind of the outer explanation, and then we will go deeper and deeper with each session. Um, so so let's get started. So we want to begin by just settling in, getting the mind and body together in the same dang place. Okay. So maybe just take a few breaths. So we want to start with our bodhicitta motivation. Bodhicitta is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. So begins with compassion when we see the suffering of others. In our case, particularly those who are hungry, not only humans, but also animals and hungry ghost beings, generating compassion for their suffering and understanding that attaining enlightenment is the way to remove suffering once and forever, as Guru Rinpoche says. So we determine to do our very best in this life to progress on this path so we can attain enlightenment for ourselves and others. So please try to make that your motivation for the time we spent together this morning. And Sam Dasam Garashidi Sam Tamo Karajivani Shuna Susu Nignata Danga Saso Kateramanim Laso Walde. Omin Chigi, Podane, Dusum Sangi, Ging Wani, and Sam Shabana Suntu Seta, so animation plus the word. Okay, so I would like to begin with the opening and closing verses from Shantideva. These are just some verses that I called personally to kind of start and end sessions, especially when we have retreats. So if you have it, please open your document. Otherwise, I will just share my screen and we can look at it that way. Good morning, dear Melina. And Marie Falcone. Okay. All right. Since I and other beings both in wanting happiness are equal and alike, what difference is there to distinguish us that I should strive to have my bliss alone? Since I and other beings both in fleeing suffering are equal and alike, what difference is there to distinguish us that I should save myself and not the others? Therefore, just as I defend myself from even slight disparagement, in just the same way with regard to others, I should likewise have a mind protective and compassionate. To free myself from harm and others from their suffering, let me give myself to others, loving them as I now love myself. Okay. So we are going to begin by talking about the paramita of generosity. Okay. So there are 6 paramitas. Paramita means like perfection. Okay. And they are generosity. I can never remember them off the top of my head, but the first one is generosity. And you can look up the rest. I should have had the list handy. Let's see if I do. No. Okay. Oh, wait, I do. Hang on 1 second, please. Please hold. Do, 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 do. Okay, 6 paramitas are generosity, moral conduct, or sometimes that's called discipline, patience, joyful effort, which is also called diligence, concentration, and wisdom. Okay, got it. So the first one is generosity, which is quite interesting. It's an interesting place to start. So the perfection of generosity. So these 6 things, they're not hard to understand, except maybe the 6th one. Okay, but what distinguishes a just ordinary, let's say, virtuous act like generosity from the perfection of generosity is the merging of that particular quality with wisdom. Okay. And wisdom in this case refers to the understanding of emptiness. Okay. Which we're not going to go into too much. But what makes it a perfection, if you talk about giving something to someone, okay, the ordinary way of being generous whether it's giving a gift or helping someone out, like I don't know, helping somebody move, for example, um, or whether it's giving charity, like we're doing, giving to food to or helping to give food to the hungry. Um, if we pay attention, we'll see that there's a lot of clinging involved in that, actually. We want something in return, typically. Even if we say we don't, we do. Okay. So we want like recognition, or we want, we want gratitude, or we want the person to return in kind. Like, let's say somebody helps us move, and then we're really grateful to them, but then they ask us and we're like, no, I don't want to do that. That person's gonna be mad, right? Because like, I helped you move and you're not gonna help me move. So we have this kind of almost a business kind of transaction um, mindset around generosity. Okay. And that is because we're clinging to the idea of like myself, my ego. We're clinging to the object, whether it's, physical help, like helping somebody move, or money, or a gift, or whatever, as real, permanent, solid, truly existent. And we're clinging to the person to whom we're giving, again, as real, permanent, solid, truly existing, etc. Okay. That's ordinary giving, right? What makes it a perfection of giving, is the practice of at least trying to understand that none of those three things have intrinsic um, existence. They're not intrinsically existent. Each of those things, myself, the act, the object, the one to whom I am giving, are actually empty of inherent existence. And when we talk about emptiness, that's what we mean. Okay. They're not permanent, not solid, not independently existent, right? Like nothing, no one just popped into existence without cause, without conditions, without parts. Okay. So that's like emptiness in like the smallest possible nutshell you can imagine. Okay. It's a really vast subject, it's a deep subject, and it's worth going into um, with a lama, or a good book written by a Dalai Lama or someone like that. Okay. So the perfection of generosity is to cultivate the attitude of non-clinging. Okay. It is the wish to give to everybody without exception, without expecting any reward, and giving fully without attachment. So if we're seeing things like, I am truly existent, you are truly existent, this thing is truly existent, we're attaching, there's attachment there. Okay, so if we're going to give without attachment, we had to have that attitude that I described earlier. And we're not going to be able to have that just out of the blue, right? That's going to require some practice, some understanding, but we can at least try. We can practice at least having that idea, even if we can't realize that idea where we're at right now. Okay. So in the traditional teachings, there are three types of giving. Okay. There's material giving. So obviously giving money, gifts, etc., or help. There's giving the Dharma. So sharing the Dharma with people if you're qualified to do so, and giving protection from fear, which is really interesting that is in the context of generosity, but giving protection from fear. So we're going to talk about each one of these right now. So material giving is giving material things, even if it's just a little bit, like provide, if that's all you can afford. Like that's why we say when we ask for donations, like even $5, it means so much to us. And it doesn't mean more than someone else giving $100 or $1,000 or whatever. But I know if someone's only giving $5 or $10, whatever, it's because that's what they can afford. And that to them is something that is really, really generous. So when we say we're grateful for any amount, no matter how small, no matter how large, that's what we mean. Okay. Um, if the intention is good, the amount doesn't matter. Okay. So another form of material giving is and making an altar. So we're going to discuss that later on in this retreat, how to do it, what are the various factors of putting an altar together, why we do that, etc. Okay. But in in brief, when we make an altar, um, it's something that is very, very meritorious because of the beings to whom we are offering. Okay. So when we talk about merit is essentially like good karma. All right. So when we talk about positive karma or negative karma, there's several factors involved in determining the weight or the import uh, of that karma. Okay. And that is like, what is our intention? Okay. What the act is and to whom we are giving. And there's a lot of other factors, actually. It's quite a dense subject, but in general, um, so if we are giving to, I don't know, let's say a person who already has a lot, doesn't really need anything, like that's good, that's really good. But if we're giving to someone who is in great need, then that's better. Okay, so it's not hard to understand that aspect, but when we're creating an altar, we're offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So that is what's called a field of merit. Okay, and because they are so pure, then that act of giving has more power. Okay. Um, we typically offer um, 7 bowls of water and a candle, and each one of those represents something else. And again, we'll go more in detail on that later in the retreat. Um, and giving water, at least at the moment, before water becomes something rare, um, creates the habit of giving without clinging because it's not hard to give. We're not asking to fill up every bowl with gold dust, right? We're just pouring water there. So we start creating that habit of giving without clinging, of giving without expecting anything in return. And then the most important part actually is that the practice of creating an altar and setting it up every day, it engenders generosity in our own heart. So we're practicing what does it feel like to be generous. There's a lot more to say about that. And as I said, we'll go into that later. Okay, so the second is giving of the Dharma. So this is, we have to be careful with this because we really need to be qualified, right? So this is giving teachings, giving empowerments, giving transmissions, and so forth. Okay. So there's a difference between teaching in the way that ordinary beings such as myself are teaching, which is more like, you know, taking a class in college or whatever, which is just sharing information and being a master or being an enlightened being who can really transmit the heart of the teachings to us. Okay. So at my level, I didn't set myself up as a teacher. This was something my own teacher asked me to do. So with great trepidation and hesitation, I said, okay. And I've been doing it for 20 years now, almost exactly 20 years. So that's the thing. But when we talk about giving empowerments and things like that, or being like a guru or being someone's spiritual guide, that is not my ken at all. Okay. That needs to be a realized being like our teachers. Okay. If we're not qualified, or we haven't been asked, because I still don't feel anyway, if we're not qualified, then the teachers say, like, it's just best just strengthen your own practice, right? We want to just strengthen our own understanding of the Dharma so that at some point we will be able to share the Dharma with others, preferably as an enlightened being. Okay. Uh, and, sometimes people, especially at the beginning, they can get quite excited about um, sharing the Dharma. It's a new thing that you found and you found it really helpful, etc. So you want to naturally share it with the people that you love. But we're really taught to be very, very careful about that and to avoid that where possible. Um, or maybe not avoid it where possible, but to be cautious, let's say, to be cautious, okay? Because first of all, we shouldn't really talk to people about the Dharma who are not sincerely, excuse me, sincerely interested in it. Okay. Sometimes people will ask us about it with the sole purpose of arguing with us. Okay. Or trying to convince us of another way or convince us that we're wrong or whatever. In that case, the teachers say, just don't even start. Don't even start, don't even start because it's not good for those people, and we never want to try to force our beliefs on someone else in any case. Okay. So those people are just out of the picture altogether. And we can just politely decline, or we can change the subject, or we can say plead ignorance, like, oh, yeah, I know I'm taking classes and stuff, but I just don't know that much. I'm not comfortable talking about it. That's perfectly fine. Okay. On the other hand, we might have some friends who are interested, who've heard about Buddhism or who have, seen the Dalai Lama and this kind of thing. And so they're interested. Meditation is a thing these days. Mindfulness, meditation is a thing these days. So people might feel, you know, they're interested in it. In that case, of course we can talk about it. We're not saying never talk about it, but we want to be really careful that um that again, that we're not forcing it on anybody, and B, that we're saying things that we actually know, okay? And that we're not afraid to say, I don't know, okay? Why don't you read this book? Or why don't you come to class with me? Or something like that, okay? Um, we get into trouble when people start asking us about really complicated things like karma, for example. Karma on its face is, pretty simple. What goes up must come down. Negative or unskillful acts of body, speech, and mind result in suffering. Positive or skillful acts of body, speech, and mind result in happiness. In very broad strokes, it's pretty simple. But as soon as we just even scratch the surface, as soon as we scratch the surface even a little bit, it starts to get quite complicated. So then we find ourselves in water that's too deep for us, in which case then we just say, that's really all I understand, and again, encourage them to study. Or just talk about your own experience, like, yeah, somebody might ask you, like, oh, you've been meditating, what's that like? And you just explain your own experience and nothing secret, you know. Oh, I'm more calm or whatever. I feel it's easier to concentrate, or I know my heart is more open, whatever kind of thing you want to say. Okay. But we just don't want to, and Americans tend to do this, I think, more than anybody, maybe. Um, we kind of do a weekend seminar or something, and then we think we know everything, and we set ourselves up as a teacher, and it's quite dangerous. So we really want to avoid that where possible. Okay. All right. And then the third kind of generosity is protection from fear, which I said is quite interesting to include that under the umbrella of generosity. So this is essentially doing all you can to protect others in difficulty, including things like keeping them company, keeping them safe. You know, um, if you think about like so many life situations that can fit under, okay, protection from fear. So someone is very sick, for example, and they're worried that they might die. That's a really opportunity to be generous with our time, with our love and our understanding, and keep them company, and talk to them, support them, right? Or in extreme cases, when you think about well, right now, with all these ice rays and things like that, there's people really practicing this in a very beautiful way, warning others, educating others, protesting against ice and things like that. It's it's protection from fear. It's protection from fear. And then another thing that we can do is to stop contributing to the fear and torture of animals who are raised for the pleasure of the tongue. Somebody's whole life, live their whole life in fear and misery, so we can have a sandwich, a leather purse. Like, it's one of the very kindest things that we can do for our animal friends, um, is to stop supporting their torture. And that includes, of course, meat products like cows and pigs and chickens and, all that, and fish. But it also includes meat byproducts like milk and cheese and eggs and things like that. They're just as bad. Milk is, in a way, even worse because the animals, they just suffer so much and constantly. And if you don't believe me about that, that's good. Don't believe me, but please look it up for yourself and you'll see. I don't want to go too much into that because I know people are probably tired of hearing it, but it's something that's very, very dear to Rinpoche's heart. So I do want to bring it up from time to time. And it does perfectly match this protection from fear. Those animals live in fear all the time. Even wild animals live in fear all the time. You know, they're worried about predators. They talk about hunger, and they spend their whole existence pretty much just looking for food, you know. So, yeah. So eating animals and their byproducts just causes an immense amount of suffering and death. And whoever eats them is fully responsible for their suffering and death. This is how the law of karma works. It's not just the person who does the killing, but anyone who supports that. And if we're buying that, then we are supporting that. So I'm sorry, true. Okay. Um, Also, if we could please try to buy cruelty-free products like shampoo and soap and I don't know, all kinds of makeup. It's a lot of this stuff where possible. It's not, I know that it's not always possible, but the reason for that is because of animal testing. A lot of these bigger companies like Procter and Gamble and big, huge companies like that test on animals. So, and eh, it's literal torture. Most of it is unnecessary. Tukur Biche, like people ask Tukur Biche about like dr- what about drugs? Like drugs that are tested on animals that, they were saying like we need to test on animals so that these drugs are safe for humans. And then Ricochet said, well, then we need to respect them even more, because they're helping us. And if there is no other choice, there is no other option, then there's no other option, but we should be especially grateful to them because of them helping us. But with things like, even things like drugs, but especially with cosmetics and, other kind of products like that, the tests have already been done. It's just people repeating tests that have already been done. So it's really a waste, So there are ways to look. You can see there's a mark usually on the bottle, often on the bottle of like a bunny, like a sort of green kind of drawing, simple drawing of a bunny that indicates it's cruelty free. There's various apps that you can use so you can test, is this cruelty free? You can just look online, is whatever Colgate toothpaste, cruelty free. You can look at that. And again, sometimes we don't have a choice, especially if we don't have a lot of money, because those products do tend to be more expensive. Um, so if we can't afford that, then we can't afford it. And also there's some medicines that we need for our own life and our health that do contain animal products. And then, sometimes, as I said, sometimes we just don't have a choice. But we do have a choice about what we eat. So I know that a lot of times people are worried about protein. All you have to do is Google it. There's so much information out there about how to get adequate protein from a vegan diet. There are so many vegan bodybuilders, who typically need a lot more protein than the average person, and they're vegan. So it's totally manageable if you have the motivation to actually just take a few minutes, really just minutes, to see. So anyway, just please try. To Ricochet is like he never beats people over the head like I've been known to do in the past with it, but he always talks about it and he always asks people to at least try, so I'm asking the same. Okay, so now we're going to go into meditation. Okay, so we want to start with mindfulness of breathing meditation, but first I need to close this shade, so please hold once again. Better. So we're going to start with mindfulness of breathing practice, okay, and then we're going to move into Tonglen practice, the practice of exchange. So first, the posture, and I know that everybody that I see in the chat is well aware of how to do this, but I never know who's else is watching or who's going to watch it down the line. So I do need to go through the instructions each time. So please bear with me. So if you're sitting on your bed or you're sitting on the floor, just cross your legs in whatever way is comfortable for you. If you are, excuse me, I know this is itchy. If you're sitting in a chair, just make sure that your feet are flat on the floor in front of you. Otherwise, all the instructions are the same. So you have three choices for what to do with your hands. You can have them, palms down on your knees or resting one on top of the other like that, palms up, or with your fingers touching and your thumbs touching like that. Just ignore my wonky thumb. It should be, or straight, but that's the way I was made. Okay. Arms are relaxed. So you're not holding them out. You're not squeezing them in. Just relax. The back is straight, but relaxed. Back of the neck is also straight. So your chin's going to be tucked in a little bit. Okay. Your shoulders should be back somewhat. So I normally just roll my shoulders back one time. Okay. Mouth is closed, but relaxed. Tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. Breathing through the nose. The eyes are half open, looking down. Relaxed, lowered gaze. If that's not comfortable for you, go ahead and close your eyes. But over time, it's good to practice, gradually practice meditating with them open. So now that's the body. What are we doing with the mind? First, we bring awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So just at the tip of your nose there. Okay, so take a moment to just notice that sensation, please. Okay, so the aim is to maintain continuous, relaxed awareness of that sensation of the breath. Okay, what's happening with the thoughts is that the thoughts are just going to continue coming and going. Okay, thought arises, dwells, disappears on its own, replaced by another thought arising, dwelling, and disappearing, etc. Okay, so we're just trying to let those thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky and maintain continuous awareness of the breath. But what is very, very likely to happen is that we will get distracted. Thought will arise and we'll go running after it. And then we'll forget where we are, who we are, what we're doing, why, everything, right? And then suddenly we'll realize, like, oh, I just totally got distracted. Just bring mind back to the breath. That's the practice, okay? You're aware, you're distracted, you realize you're distracted, you bring the mind back. you're aware. Again, you get distracted, you realize that, you bring the mind back. That's the practice. Okay. Nobody's expecting anybody to be perfect at this uh, ever, honestly. But especially at the beginning when we're just trying to, start meditating. All right. So we need to be gentle with ourselves, gentle with the process. Okay. So take the posture, please. Bring awareness to that sensation of the breath at the tip of the nose and try to maintain continuous awareness of depth. Please begin now. And now begin to count the breaths, counting either every in breath or every out breath for a total of 10 complete breaths. Counting is a tool that helps us to realize more quickly when we've gotten distracted because we'll have lost count. Okay. So let's say you get to 4 and then the mind's just off and running and distraction. And then you're just like, wait, where was I? And just come bring me back, start again at 1. If you get to 10, don't let that fact that you got to 10 without being distracted become a distraction. Just go back, start again at 1. So please begin that now. Okay, now we're going to move into the practice of Tonglen, otherwise known as the practice of exchange. So we begin by working with the visualization. So first, just picture in your heart center, so that's like the middle of your chest, a very bright white light like a shining star. And for this practice, if you want to close your eyes, no problem. Okay. Then imagine that you're breathing in gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center till there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now picture that you're breathing out this white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. Breathing it out through all the pores of your body, the light going in all directions. Now picture in front of you someone who is hungry. Can be a child, it could be a parent, an old person, someone living on the street. Just choose one and just picture them in front of you. And try your best to connect with their suffering, the feeling of hunger in the body, the pain of that, the anguish of not knowing when or if food is coming, the mental fog and fatigue that comes from being hungry. And try to not just think about it, but feel it. What does that feel like? What does it feel like in the body to be truly hungry, not just a little peckish and you can just go and get a snack, but not having any food in the house or not having access because you live on the street? That kind of hunger, or you haven't eaten all day, or you only had a small meal maybe in the morning, coupled with the uncertainty of when you might be able to eat again. Now imagine that suffering, that physical and mental and emotional suffering that comes with being hungry like that. All of that takes the form of gray smoke, hot or dark and heavy, and it comes to you. And when it reaches you, you just breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And you want to offer this person everything you have, giving it away, your own happiness, your wealth, your food, your health, and adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. And you breathe that out through all the pores of your body. And when these rays of light reach the person you've pictured, their suffering just disappears. They no longer feel hungry or afraid or anxious. Their mind is clear, their body is healthy, and they feel so relieved to be free of this suffering. And you feel really joyful being able to do that for them. Now we want to expand that out to all people who suffer from hunger, whether it's in our own community, we can start there, our own community, our country, then all the other countries, any human being who's suffering from hunger. Just picture them all around you like in a circle and do the same. Try to imagine, try to feel, not just think about, but feel. What does it feel like to be that hungry? To be a family in Gaza who doesn't have access to food? To be a child full of fear and confusion as to why they're not being fed? To be a parent who worries so much about how to feed their child? So imagine all of these various types of suffering related to hunger take the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. And it leaves all these people. It comes to you, and with so much love and generosity and openness and courage, you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center. Till there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And we want to offer all of these beings again our own good fortune, our happiness, our food, our wealth, anything at all that they may need otherwise, and the wish that they attain full enlightenment. All of that taking the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. You breathe that out through all the pores of your body. The light going in all directions as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these people suffering from hunger, their hunger disappears. Their body heals. Their mind is once again clear. They feel happy and relaxed. And you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now we extend it out even farther to all beings without exception, humans, animals, and other beings, surrounding us in every direction as far as the eye can see, in front, all the way to the horizon, to the right, again, to the horizon, behind, as far as the eye can see, and to the left. Same thing, all the way to the horizon. And we consider whatever kind of suffering all these beings are enduring, physical, mental, emotional. Some of their suffering is extremely grave, very, very intense, some less so. Whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves all these beings, comes to us, and you just breathe that in through all the pores of your body. That smoke begins to dissolve into the white light in your heart center, and continues until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer all these beings your own happiness, your own good fortune, anything at all that they may need to feel better, to be free of suffering, and the wish they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. All of that takes the form of white light, cool in temperature, light in weight, clean, clear, very, very bright. Every pore of your body emanates a ray of white light in every direction as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, each individually, their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears like fog in the morning sun. They feel incredibly relieved to no longer be suffering. They feel happy and peaceful, and you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now you let go of the visualization altogether, gently bringing the mind back to the breath and into the present moment, here and now. Okay, so now we're going to do the closing verses of Shantideva. And then I'll do the closing prayers. So I gotta share my screen. There we go. Sorry, it's fighting with me again. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay. May every being ailing with disease be freed at once from every malady. May every sickness that afflicts the living be wholly and forever absent from the world. May those who go in dread have no more fear. May captives be unchained and now set free. And may the weak receive their strength. May living beings help each other in kindness. May children and the aged and all those without protection, wandering in the fearful, pathless wastes, who fall asleep unconscious of their peril, have pure celestial beings as their guardians. And now, as long as space endures, as long as there are beings to be found, may I continue likewise to remain, to drive away the sorrows of the world. Now the closing prayers. I don't know how to do this one to the other, so I just have to deal with it as it is. There we are. Okay. So we begin with long light prayers for the Dalai Lama, our two main teachers, and then all the teachers. These we just say in Tibetan. So join if you like. Kanri wawe koe shinkan su pendam de wa malu juwene chene sion tenzin gam soye shape gel kapa tu te shi om swasti jigme kempe kalo yambaru unkab se chen su se bundawa ita dan san ke no pucho se che gawe shakin su so Om Swasti Sela Gyam Surjana Pinchule Lunsin Dakse Yutu Tamawan Sansun Natre Galbo Tatene Lapchantan Dushitan Take Sho Lama Kungam Sampo Soa De Chutu Kutse Ringwa Soa De Trine Tashin Geba Soa De Lama Dandre Wame Pachingi Lo So now on this page, we say this first prayer once in English, once in Tibetan, remaining 3 just in English, and then the 100-syllable mantra. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. Sonandi tamche zipani, tone nebe dranam panche shing, kekana chi balon tupai, sipe sole droa droa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may it too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya, may I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenupa Tishtadado Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sawasiri Me Prayatsa Sawakam Sutsam Me Chitam Shri Ankuruhum Aha ha ha ho Bhagavan Savatata Padrama Me Munsa Padre Bhama Samaya Sattva. So before I let you go, I first just want to say thank you again for joining us this morning. And then I just have a couple of announcements. So like I said at the beginning, in case anybody wasn't here at the beginning, this is our weekend retreat, the Joy of Giving. And we have another session this afternoon from 2 to 4, and then one tomorrow morning from 10:30 to 12:30. You can still register for that if you want. Just click on the link for our website, and it's right there on the link to the page to register is right there on the homepage. So it's super easy to find. You're more than welcome. And even if you can't, we're just raising money for the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. So if you just want to throw in a few bucks, that would be really appreciated as well. If you contribute, you have access to the recordings. This recording is on our page. It's going to remain on our page, but the 2 other sessions that we're going to have is just going to be on Zoom, and those recordings you need a link to get. But if you donate, you'll get that link. Next week is our Thanksgiving break, so we won't be doing anything that week, including meditation. Let's see, today. Okay. So yes, our break starts on Monday, the 24th of November, and goes through Saturday, the 29th of November. So we won't have any meditation next week. Okay. Normally we get together for Buddha days, but there is a Buddha day on Friday, the 28th, but we won't be getting together for it. So if you could do that practice on your own, that would be great. If you want to practice with me, you can find the recording of me leading it on our website. Sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already. We normally have in-person meditation at the Lakewood Public Library the second Saturday of every month. We will not be doing that in September. We'll just have the online meditation on September 13th. We won't be at the library. So our next one at the library, because of our winter break, will be on January 10th, I believe. Please like, subscribe, and share. This is just so we can, get a message out or provide more people with the opportunity to access the Dharma. So all it takes is you just hitting that thumbs up thing and the subscribe thing. And if you can leave a comment, that also helps to just drive traffic to our website. Share, if you liked this, share with your friends, your family, share it on Facebook, whatever. If you are able to donate to our center, that would be, as I said at the beginning, so appreciated, very much appreciated, no matter how large, no matter how small. We do need money, unfortunately, that's the way the world works. So we need money to Zoom. We have, our website has costs. I get a small stipend that is a cost involved. So if you're able to do that, we really, really appreciate it. And if you can't do that, it's perfectly fine. But if you could at least make some prayers for us that we can continue, to thrive and serve the community as best as we can. Okay. So again, thank you so, so much. And for those of you who are doing the retreat, I will see you at 2 o'clock. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye bye.